This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
But even as we get into that, I got to ask you, what is your plan? Do you have a plan? If you don't, now would be the time that you should get into it to start to have one. The folks at ICEA Line are saying, okay, guys, we know that you think about it quite often. You get to the place where you're like, okay, so what am I going to do about my future investments? What am I going to do about my plans for education? What if I don't have anything solidly behind? What exactly will happen? You are at a party, you're at a weekend barbecue, and someone is talking about their next investment. They're talking about that next piece of land that they're going to buy. They're talking about their investment plan, and you're like, okay, sure, that's what people do. Yeah, you're basically looking into your plate. But ICA says, you know what, guys, it's never too early to start. ICA has a plan for everybody. So what's your plan, and how can they bring it to life with you? Just insisting on investment options that help you grow, protect, and plan with confidence. ICA Line is helping you secure your today and build your tomorrow. So you want to have a conversation with them, give them a call and find out how they can actually help you bring your plan to life. Senor. All right, and we're getting into the weekend. Yes, we are. And Naivas says, you know what? There is a brand new Naivas, One Mall Magadi Road branch, and it is officially open. And it's the 111th Naivas branch. Naivas appreciates everyone, all of us, for the 35 years of loyalty, love, and growth. Traffic may be moving slow, but Magadi Road is moving fast with excitement. And you know what that means. Fresh deals, great vibes, and aisles full of your favorites. So if you love convenience, quality, and that Naivas freshness, this is the spot for you. So when you hit Magadi Road, make that quick stop, shop Kikwetu style, and experience the Naivas One Mall magic on Magadi Road for a chance to win daily on items such as items below 1,000 shillings. Weekly, you can grab toasters, blenders, kettles, and win big on TVs, fridges, microwaves, and so much more. And all you need to do all the time, even with this 111th store, is remember that Naivas saves you money. All right, and do that getting into the weekend with your favorite store, Naivas. All right, we are getting into a conversation that has had many people clawing for answers. And when we talk about regulating religion, are we looking at a storm brewing? Bishop Hudson Ndeda is the national chairman of the Church and Clergy Association of Kenya. He's here this morning. Good morning, Bishop.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good.
Karibu Sana, you're in the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Yeah, Asante.
Good to have you here. He's also joined by Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome, who is a Muslim scholar, Jamia. Good morning, Sheikh.
Morning to you.
How are you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm doing fine.
Karibu Sana.
Asante.
Thank you both for joining us this morning. A conversation that is much needed, but at the same time has been brewing for a while. But before we get into that, Dennis is going to welcome you with today's proverb. We'd love to get your interpretation of it.
Yeah, our proverb today comes from Sao Tome and Principe, a country that is well known for its cocoa. So, Sheikh, if you love chocolates, perhaps you've had a piece of Sao Tome and Principe.
Okay.
A country whose population is around 247,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 247,000 people. But today, they give us this proverb. The big fish eats the small fish. The big fish eats the small fish. Bishop, how would you interpret that?
The big fish is the small fish. Mm-hmm. It is actually what I said in our press conference the other day. We have leaders who create laws. They don't think about the common mwananchi. For example, the thing we are talking about, the cyber crime bills and all that. When you look at them and the kind of penalties they are proposing and the jail terms, only them can afford that money. Yeah, they know the common mwananchi would just die in jails there. So they're eating the common mwananchi.
All right. Well,
how you interpret it?
Immediately what comes into my mind is the Kiswahili saying, mwenye nguvu mpishe. Yeah, mwenye nguvu mpishe. Yeah, in real life, we know what happens in the in life in the sea, in the lake, the rest. Actually, the big fish feed on the small ones. But as a proverb, what it means is that those people in big positions, influential people, they don't care about the small people out there. When the roads are not repaired, it is the small person who suffers with his small vehicle, struggling to earn a living. But when the big person passes there, you know, they will not realize there is a pothole because the road will be fixed overnight or immediately. Or they use a chopper to get there, so they will not feel it. Yeah. So sometimes they might be thinking about a 3-course meal, and they maybe even want to train their children on table manners and how to dress for dinner. They don't know. There are other people who have no dinner to dress for at all. They don't even know about courses in a meal. What they want is just a meal. So hawa masamaki wakubwa ndio wanakula wadogo. Yeah.
That's where we are. And if you're wondering whether this conversation is going to take a certain direction, I guess now you've been convinced otherwise. Of course, all of these play into these conversations that we have. And that regulating religion is something that has come into the fore quite heavily, especially after 2023, when Kenya experienced something that it has never experienced to the degree that it did with Shakahola. Not to that degree. There has been religious, I don't know if to call it psychophancy or heavy following of a particular person, but we've never seen in Kenya that this has led to death and the number of bodies that we saw coming out of the ground, that people followed one man and his teachings to the point whereby children, families, foreigners were coming and then were found underground. After that, the conversation sprouted that perhaps we actually need to be serious about the regulation, despite the fact that it is in the Constitution already in terms of what you can or cannot do religion-wise. So that is what had our minds around this conversation, right? Let's even start from the beginning and ask ourselves, is there need for regulation of religion in Kenya? Is there a need? We start with you, Sheikh.
Let me begin by trying to understand religion and the power of religion. What I believe in is that nothing can rival religion when it comes to influencing the human being. I call it the power or the superpower of religion. Religion to many of us is unquestionable. The moment you're told this is religion, to many of us it is unquestionable. And I'm deliberately saying to many of us, and I'm not trying to justify that we should not question religion, but more often than not, we do not question religion. My bishop has said this, my sheikh has said this, period. That's all. Again, the power of religion lies in the fact that it is very emotive. It appeals to our emotions like nothing else, and that can easily be exploited. Again, religion promises reward beyond this world. I'm sure where you sit, you've contributed a lot in maybe the establishment of a religious institution from your hard-earned money. And if I ask you who will pay, you'll tell me I'll be paid by God. Where? There. You'll even point there. I do the same. And we preach that. I want to believe Bishop preaches that God will pay you for that. So it promises reward beyond this world. Again, religion knows no boundaries. You know, I am a Muslim here in Kenya. When I go to Tanzania, I just came back from Nigeria. I was praying there also. It knows no boundaries. Now, therein lies the power of religion. Is it good or bad? Depends on how it is used. If used properly, it's a very good organizing force, organizing humanity, telling humanity where we've come from and where we're going, and how the Creator wants us to live in this world. And the Creator has given us, I call it the user's manual. For me, the user's manual is the Quran. It tells me how to live. And because the author is the Creator himself, I follow it to the letter. For other faith organizations, they also have their own user's manual, and it is followed to the letter. Now, should that be regulated? You see, when you talk about regulation and law, you're talking about, what do you say? You're talking about addressing a mischief. Is there a mischief that needs to be addressed? The answer is yes. We have people who have been misled to their graves, a shortcut to go to heaven. And I want to point back to my own religion. There are people who have been misused Islam, and they have blown themselves, they have killed other people in the name of religion. Is that a mischief? Do you want to live like that as human beings? The answer is no. How do we address that mischief? Now, when you have a problem with your body, to correct that problem, like Waswahili wanasema, kukata pua ili kuunga wajihi. I have a problem on my face, I decide to cut my nose. Are you making it better? Yeah. You know, so we have a problem, yes, that is Shakahola is a problem. Until yesterday, I could see bodies being identified.
Still.
I even was wondering where all these bodies have been stored all this time without maybe rotting and the rest. It's very sad. Those are people's relatives and the rest. The terrorist organizations misusing religion, we need to address that. But at what expense? Should we be clawing back at the freedoms that we have guaranteed in the Constitution? The answer is no. So let me stop there, give a chance to my colleague.
Is there a need for regulation? And we can point back to the Shakahola, because just interesting, as you say, where have these bodies been stored? There's been a makeshift freezer outside Malindi Sub-County Hospital for 2 years. It has held bodies for 2 years, and we start to see now that people have started to be able to recover their kith and kin. And that though the case is in court right now, that there is a direct connection between the followership in this church and one man and the actions that happened after. So when this happened, people said, no, we cannot have a thing like this where because somebody says they have received a vision from God, or that they now bear the power in physical form of a heavenly God, that they can now lead people astray. Is there need for regulation?
First, I want to be very clear. We sympathize with those people who are affected in Shakahola. And as a religion or as a church, we condemned it even when it happened. And that is something that should not be compromised. But then we ask ourselves, me and you will ask ourselves questions. What happened in Shakahola is a small thing. It's not a small thing. So I'm asking, when these tens of people were being killed and buried, does the security apparatus want to tell Kenyans they didn't know? All this happening, where were they? So when one sleeps on their job, they will always look for somebody to blame. Now they find the right place to blame is the clergy, is the church, is religion, and all that. They failed on their job. I don't think even the chief in that area cannot claim that they didn't know what was happening. Now, to whether religion should be regulated or not, we are saying everybody in this country is subjected to law. And therefore, religion to be controlled or regulated, we are already regulated. We are already regulated. There are laws and there are things that you have to agree with the government before you register a church, for example, or a religious organization. And what we do, we submit a constitution when you are doing a registration. That constitution spells out what you will be doing. We will be preaching, we will be doing this, we will be doing this. So our question on our mind is, when Mackenzie registered that church, did he tell them he would be killing people? Because we have heard stories like the government say they don't have a law to pin Mackenzie down. So to us, and that is why I'm saying they're sleeping on their job, so let me tell them where they should get Mackenzie. It is in the Constitution. What did he say in the Constitution of that registration that he will be doing? And whether killing people is legal or not, it is the government to interpret. Everybody in Kenya is subjected to the law. But I want to be on record saying that we are already regulated.
Yep, and that is where I was headed, Sheikh. Now, when you talk about freedom of religion in the country. The constitution stipulates itself, and then comes the bodies under which all these religious institutions fall under. So we'll talk about SUPKEM and other bodies that regulate the Muslim faith. You talk about NCCK and ECK?
CCAK.
Yes, yeah. And all these bodies that regulate these religious institutions. And one would say there is already a framework on how religious bodies, religious institutions are being regulated, who they report to, who looks at the doctrine. But here we are now, a new mechanism is coming up on how to regulate again an already regulated body. And one would ask, what is the mischief that should be read in this decision?
Let me begin now from the Constitution. As you rightly said, the Constitution is very clear about the freedoms that are guaranteed. And I want to say it here, not given. I'll tell you as a lawyer in my other life, human rights are not given by the government. They are just protected, guaranteed, and promoted. And the Constitution is very clear. But then we need to remind everyone there is no absolute freedom.
Yes.
There can never be absolute freedom. My freedom of movement stops where your rights begin. And that's why we have a clause on limitations. Now, freedom of religion, does it mean also lives should be lost? The answer is no. Property destroyed and the rest in the name of religion? No. So this freedom, like all the other freedoms in the Constitution and even in international instruments, have their limitations. Now, when somebody uses that freedom to the detriment of people, now, where does the buck stops? Look at the Constitution. When it comes to the lives and property of people, the buck stops with the government. Now, so even before we think about coming up with a new regulation to regulate, to address the mischief, because there is a mischief, religion is being misused by some people. It's a fact. Not everybody, and I'm saying that deliberately, because Mackenzie is one, and the churches have condemned him. Al-Shabaab is just one group. We have condemned what they are doing, okay? So you cannot blame Islam and all Muslims for what those people are doing. But that is a mischief. We need to address it. The question we need to ask ourselves is this: how did that happen, and how do we have any gaps or loopholes that were exploited by whoever wanted to use this? Because, believe as the bishop said here, no one can operate in this country without the knowledge of government. You cannot run any institution here. We are already registered under the Societies Act. So there is regulation. So we need to ask ourselves, is it because of the inadequacy of that piece of legislation, or is it administrative? Because I want to ask the same question that the bishop is asking here. 400 people plus, because I want to believe it is plus.
It is
still excavating more bodies. Come on, this country is governed all over. There is no single space in this country that is not governed. And we thank the colonial masters. They had a very effective way of managing us up to the village. Yes. Right from the days of the PC, it ends up with the headman at the village. So every piece of land in this country is administered. Where were they? Somebody slept on the job. And I want to agree with Bishop 100%. We need to find out what happened and where were they. Then, maybe as Kenyans, because I say this law that we have is not revealed. It's not a Bible or the Quran. It is man-made. We made the laws for ourselves. Then we need to sit down and see, are there any gaps in this law that needs to be filled in? And we should not be emotional on this. Because if we say, if somebody from a certain sector or a certain profession misbehaves, then crack the whip without caring. That's wrong. We need to find out, first of all, how did this person, like now the former police officers, DCI officers who are harassing people, do we start now harassing every police officer, DCI officer? We need to find out what happened, what was wrong. Then find out, do we have laws, enough laws? Are there gaps? How do we improve on those gaps? And we should not be emotional about this. And again, we should not use Shakahola as an excuse to stifle the religious leaders and the rest. So regulation, yes, no one should be above the law in this country, including the presidency himself, itself. No one is above the law. So religious institutions are not above the law. But again, we need to approach this very soberly, because we might end up. I remember one time, my little son, he's now in university, wanted to kill an ant in his room.
Yeah.
He went to the kitchen and took a match box and lit a fire to kill the ant. He ended up burning his carpet, and the ant escaped there. Do you want to do that now?
Taking a sledgehammer to so.
Good.
So the thing is, is it this religion is not like this pen that you
Yes.
can see, and so you say, okay, well, if it's not writing anymore, I can toss it, or I can try to squeeze the ink. We can't see it. It is a thing of spirit, it's a thing of mind, it's a thing of belief. Could that be why it seems like it's a soft target for folks who want to then misbehave or control people, and so they use this avenue? We've seen it being done with children. Younger people can be manipulated. They've done it with conflict. They've done it with sexual abuse. Look at Sierra Leone. It was child soldiers until the stories are being told today, because it is an area that you can manipulate.
Exactly.
Religion is also an area, unfortunately, that you can manipulate. Karl Marx is famous for saying that it is the opium of the people. It's this drug that we know there's a feel-good factor that comes with it, so people can then, pardon my French, bastardize it, because it's a thing of the heart. It's a thing of your belief. So people can see it as a loophole. So if that's the case, should we be dealing with it as a whole, or should we be dealing with the individuals who go wrong?
Exactly. And that is what my colleague has been addressing.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
You think all paracetamol is the same? Panadol Advance, with its unique Optizorb technology, releases medicine 5 times faster than standard paracetamol, making it ready to work in 5 minutes. Try Panadol Advance for fast and effective relief from pain and fever. Fast relief at only 15 shillings per pair.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Is not whatever religion it is. So he should be handled as an individual. Under the laws in Kenya, there are enough laws in the penal code to handle Mackenzie. And therefore, what we are against is now this wholesale condemnation that we are now receiving. Do you know what it looks like right now for people who have simple understanding when they see me, a bishop, because of this wholesale condemnation, then I'm packaged together with Mackenzie. And that is what we are refusing.
Okay.
Can we have a sober approach, a good approach, that when we are talking about this thing, can we name people by their names and remove religion from this matter?
And the question then is, how do we do that? Because just across here to the west of Nairobi, there are some 2 individuals who decided that they're Mary and Joseph. Okay? And the biblical Mary and Joseph, not the ones who are named, the biblical Mary and Joseph, they came from heaven, I don't know. But people flock to this place. It's almost laughable when we hear it because it sounds ridiculous. But that's the thing that I'm saying, that people believe this thing. People will see and say, okay, actually, yes, this actually could be Mary. And this actually could be Joseph. And so the words then that come out of their mouth takes weight, because people have already... Is it criminal in nature what these folks are doing? Because before you know it, people have been living in that compound for years. They don't see their families because they're worshiping Mary and Joseph. This is what's happening. It's not a fairy tale. It's happening in Kenya.
You know, we've been talking to the government for a long time to allow us to self-regulate within religion. Because if they allow us to self-regulate, maybe through umbrella bodies that we have, like the SUBCAM, like the CCAK and the NCCK, you know, they have not allowed us. If they allow us, there is no way we will allow somebody who will tarnish our name, or our faith, as we see.
What would you do?
We will tell this person what you are doing is not right. It is against what is right. And if he does not stop or whatever, we will hand over those people to the government.
So it's criminal in your opinion?
Yeah, there are some things that are criminal. For example, we will keep on going back to Mackenzie thing. How can that be right? That is not right. It is criminal. In fact, it is even wrong when everybody comes and maybe does such a thing and say, I'm a pastor. Everybody, if somebody goes outside there and say, I'm a journalist, and he does a stupid thing, there will be generalization. But because this is a controlled space,
yes.
you can easily say this is not one of us. And that is it. So can you just deal with him as an individual? And that is what we are saying. The government should be able to listen to religious leaders. The problem is that they want to understand religion more than we understand it ourselves. They actually want to advise us on religion when we are supposed to be the ones advising them. If they give us a chance, if they allow us to self-regulate, we are assuring you that many of these cases, we don't say they will not be there, but they will be minimal. Because we will be able to check.
Sheikh, when you talk about the regulation that is coming in with Shakahola being the reference point, right? So we're talking in terms of we want to regulate religious institutions, but no one is talking about the lapses. There could be lapses, perhaps, say, in the entire document on regulating the religious institutions, but no one is talking about the lapses that do exist within the government security agencies that ought to have protected the people and also uphold the already existing regulations. You know? So here we are looking these other way, but not focusing on where the problem is, in my opinion. You know? So as we're talking about regulations that have been put there by the government, but we're still not addressing the lapses that do exist from the security agencies at the ground. You talk about the chiefs, you talk about the police. Who are there to protect everybody? So how do we bring these conversations from a security standpoint and equally a religious standpoint, such that you advise the government in terms of the doctrine? This is what we stand for. This is how we go about it. And the government as well to sit down with you and tell you, this is how we will operate moving forward together with you.
Yeah, as you rightly said, the reference point now is Shakahola. Okay, then all of a sudden we want to come up with some regulation because of Shakahola happened, and finger pointing, because the government is pointing at the religious institutions and organizations. The question is this: to solve this problem, do we only need to regulate the religious institutions? The answer is no. Everybody here has a stake in this and a player in this. And to begin with, if you ask me, the biggest blame lies with the government, because we, the people of Kenya, have donated the powers to the people in government, the different arms of government, to make sure we are safe and to make sure nobody oversteps their limits. Okay, now I would want us to begin from there, and I hope nobody is interpreting whatever the bishop is saying or what I'm saying that we don't want to be regulated.
Okay.
Yes. I remember when I was doing my law, we were told human society without guidelines is like the devil's workshop. I've never seen one, so I don't know
What the devil's
workshop.
workshop.
I want to imagine it is very chaotic. Today I was able to drive here because there's some regulation. That's why I was able. So no one is saying we don't need regulation. But is that the problem that we have in this country? We have been grappling with this monster called corruption. Don't we have laws? We have them. What is the problem? Implementation of those laws. So I think we need to begin from, did Shakahola happen because there is no regulation or somebody slept on their job? Okay? Then we find out why did they sleep on their job. And you'll find that monster called corruption. Don't be surprised if you you find one of the heads there because it has so many heads. There's a big demon there. Then ask ourselves also, look at the law very soberly. Are there any gaps to be improved? And for me, any man-made law, it's only God's law that cannot be amended because it is free of error. But our laws, we amended our constitution. After so many years, we realized it's no longer serving us. We started, and where did we begin? I was part of the CKRC team. We started by civic education. We went around the country, educate Kenyans on what do we have in place, where are the gaps. We should do the same thing here. But for me, actually, we need to begin with who slept on their job. Then after that, look at the regulation as it is. Then when you talk about self-regulation, I know you people as journalists, you have a code of conduct.
Yes.
This is what we need to have so that you are held accountable against that. And some of these incidences that we are seeing, actually, they can be charged under the penal code. Somebody has lost their life. And again, we need to draw a line between religion and cultism. Because if you look at Shakahola, this is not religion. This is cultism. And I think Kenyans, we are making history. I think there was Yesu wa Tongareni.
Yes.
And it only happens in Western Kenya. Sorry, no, if somebody comes from there, from Western Kenya. There was Jehovah Wanyonyi also, you remember, who died, and people for a long time did not know he has died. Although the Tongareni person, when he was told he'll be crucified because it was close to Easter, he ran to a police station to be protected. So we need to come up, to look at the lapses in the administration, in the implementation of the law. Because if you ask me, that is where we have the biggest problem. I'm not trying to say that what we have in terms of regulation is enough. If you ask me, I've gone through it. We need maybe to amend it, to strengthen it. But more important than that, we need to look at the administrative lapses that were there. So actually, Shakahola should be investigated from who slept on their job first, and then look at the regulation. If it is not enough, then come up with regulation, not with the view of shutting down the voices of religious
and
leaders in
maybe
this country.
who else could have been involved in this?
Who
Because
else?
here we are, and we're
Exactly.
saying it's just a man and his church.
Yeah.
But excuse me, that there's so many administrative lapses that you speak about, that Bishop, you spoke about, whereby a local chief had been told about this before. The man had a TV station which was doing all kinds of things, and nobody bothered to shut down until much later. He had been reported to the police, and that didn't really, take root. So who else was involved in this, then, is the question. And as the world over, we have too many examples of how religion has been used as a tool. Misused as a tool for dominance, as a tool for control, and even as a weapon of war and conflict. There are too many examples of the same. So we started off with the question, should there be regulation? But I think we've now gone to the question, can we really actually regulate something, again, that you cannot touch? Because how do you say that I am vetting you to see if I will let you open a church, or if I will let you open a mosque here where there will be teachings and I'll be the leader of it? How much of an investigation will I do? Will I go back into your childhood? Will I check and see how you've come up in the... What exactly would this regulation entail? So, should we be regulated? We've agreed. Can you be, in terms of what questions will be asked? Who will be tasked with the responsibility of then regulating each and every group that exists and everyone that will come up later?
Yes, you are asking very pertinent questions. And so that we exhaust on this issue, the government should not run away from their blame. They carried the biggest blame on what happened at Shakahola, because then, as we said, security slept on their job, and maybe, as my friends say, you will realize that corruption took the center stage. There is no way such a thing of that magnitude can happen without the government knowing. Even today we are seated here, the government knows we are here. How did they know? So if they can know we are seated here, how can they fail to understand such a thing happening down there and all that? And we are saying, and we're repeating, we are already regulated. But if there are some gaps that the government feels that they are there, we are not opposed to that. What we are opposed to is for them coming and imposing laws on us that we feel they will begin to victimize even innocent clergy practicing innocently and doing their work very well. You know, laws, many laws have some loopholes. And we have looked at the kind of proposals they're making. They have a lot of loopholes. Because, for example, with the cybercrime laws, they are talking of religious extremism. How do you define that? Where does it begin? Where does it end? What does it mean exactly? What is this extremism? So it means it can be interpreted by anybody differently. So it will be interpreted differently in my case, depending on who is sitting there to judge me. It will be interpreted differently from his case, depending on who is seated there to judge him. So we are saying, can they have a sitting with us? We consult so that we can share these issues and tell them this word, religious extremism, is ambiguous. It is open to abuse. It can be used against people who are innocent. So can we define this so that we know how it can be used in regulating religion? Now, if you come to the proposed bill, Religious 2024, they have put their words like coercion and all that and all that. What is coercion? How do you define it? What then do I do that goes to the level of coercion and all that? It is an open word that can be misused. So they should tell us exactly what are they looking for? What do they want to achieve? Instead of coming up with laws that we feel, you can look at them. You don't have to be a lawyer to know a word coercion can be misused. You don't have to be a lawyer to know that the word religious extremism can be used. It can be interpreted to mean anything. And those are worries. But if they keep on thinking that they know religion more than religious leaders, we'll keep on opposing these laws.
I mean, Sheikh, let's look at what you're discussing. This is a new law that is coming up, right?
Yeah, yes.
So it is a question of, we have religious institutions who are the key players in this, together with Kenyans who believe and trust in what religious institutions do preach. But there is the other aspect of the very same constitution that requires public participation, you know?
Yeah.
And I bring forth this matter because one would have assumed that the biggest stakeholders would have been brought on the table to discuss what they want to push, to give advice, to sit and agree on what will work and what will not work. Because as we've already agreed, if you look at the regulations that are there, it's looking at how we will control. But again, there is the security aspect that is the responsibility of the government, right? So then, has there been engagement? You've said that you've been talking to the government for a very long time, but with regard to this specific regulation that is coming up, have you sat down, or is this something that is just, this is what you want, sit and relax?
Yeah. Waswahili wanasema mgala muue na haki yake mpe. Yeah, tunawapa haki yao. And Bishop knows there have been discussions going on. Credit to them. We have been invited to several meetings, and actually we were even discussing with the bishop here before we came in. We hope this will continue because as we speak, there's an advert that was out in the papers 2-3 weeks ago, whereby we were invited to sit with our constituents and give in our input in that. And we do hope that is ongoing. We have attended several meetings under the docket of the CS, the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Yeah, there is a PS in charge of that docket. So discussions have been going on and the rest. But we don't know whether our views will be taken into consideration. That is the biggest worry we have here. Let me go back to my sister. Remind me of your name again. Ndu. There's something that you said, and I think it's very important that we address it here. How do you regulate something that is not tangible? Something is in the minds of the people, and affects the emotions of the people. We can only regulate the outcome of what people are doing. For example, we look at religion. Ask ourselves, could there be any religion, and I want to add the word true religion, that would lead to destruction of lives? So we'd look at the outcome of any religion. So if there is a religion like that, then there are parameters. We said, no, this is leading to destruction of life. There can be no true religion. The true God does not want to destroy lives. God protects lives. That is acceptable all over. So we can regulate that. We can also regulate, do you think that God would want somebody to come and destroy property? No. Separate families, operate in secrecy. I see religious bishop there preaches openly. But when somebody wants to do things secretly, then we can draw a line. This cannot be a religion, okay? When families are separated, this cannot be a religion. But it is the same thing with all human conduct. That's why we have laws against theft, for example. But theft is happening because it's so difficult. I remember as a small child, I grew up in Central Province. They say there is a song we used to sing in church because I grew up in that background, that Moses was not able even to control the multitude that was following. He had liberated them from the bondage in Egypt, but he still could not control them. It's not easy to control human beings, but we can lay down parameters and says, these are the parameters within which you can operate as a religion. You cross this, then please, the onus is on you to prove that this is a religion, because this cannot be a true religion. So it is those parameters. When we talk about regulating a religion, is drawing parameters. If you cross this, then please, the onus is on you to come and show us that this is religion, because you can see destruction of property.
Yeah.
We can see here destruction of lives, separation of lives, some things that we do not understand. Come and explain to us, what is this? Come and explain to us whether this true Joseph and Mary that has come, where you've come from, and then bring in people who are credible to come and say, were you in the Bible? Are you expecting another Mary and Joseph?
Are you from Bethlehem?
Are you from those things?
Yeah.
Now, stakeholders in all this.
Yes.
Who are the main stakeholders here? Every Kenyan is a stakeholder here. But we have key stakeholders, like the religious leaders. They are key in this. Government is key in this. You, the media, are also a stakeholder in this, a very key stakeholder. Parents are a key stakeholders, because I have the responsibility of bringing up my children, being able to distinguish between true religion and when religion is being used to exploit them. And we've seen this all over.
Okay.
In schools also, we should empower our learners to be able to distinguish in the church, in the mosque. And again, this is where, again, I have a problem. And sometimes I even clash with fellow religious leaders. I think we have over-focused on the fact that, religion is not about this world. Religion is about there. Where is a vehicle to go to heaven. So you easily convince people, don't worry about this world. And no, people look for shortcuts. I think, Bishop, we should revisit our preachings and tell people religion is about living in this world. Then you can go to heaven at the right time. This idea of going to heaven perpendicularly, I think, is a problem. So we need to change. Not going to heaven perpendicularly. It's horizontal. When the time comes, then you'll go. So can we refocus our preachings on religion for our conduct in this life? And then your destiny in heaven will depend on how you live in this one. And don't rush in going there. Time will come, the right time will come for you to go there. Enjoy this life, live with other people properly. Then time will come perpendicular. Then you will go to heaven perpendicularly.
Let's look at the Religious Organizations Bill 2024, because this is one that brings a little bit of friction, isn't it?
Yes.
And there are certain key provisions that they have laid. Every religious organization or umbrella religious organization must register with the proposed Religious Affairs Commission. All right? That's one of the things in the bill. Now, eligibility for registration includes support from at least 25 natural persons. Don't say we have divine guidance to... No. There must be 25 natural persons professing the same faith for a basic religious organization. For an umbrella religious organization, there must be an endorsement by a number of registered religious organizations. Again, at least 25. There must be a constitution of the organization, a management board of trustees with required qualifications, one member with a degree, diploma, certificate in theology, as it would be, or
the equivalent,
in whichever that you're dealing with. You must have a residence address, change of name. The registrar or commission via a registrar may refuse this registration if there are reasonable grounds to believe the organization would be used for unlawful processes or threatens national security, public order, and organizations must display their certificate of registration at their premises. That's just for establishment, before we even go to reporting and all of these other things. Those things, they are not okay.
My sister, that is why I'm telling you, the government is playing games.
This thing where we're asking to establish now in the registration and legal status,
I want to
you don't like it?
respond to it. They are playing games. They don't want to come out clearly and say what they want. You see all those things you have mentioned? We are already doing them.
Okay.
We are already doing them. I've told you, we register organizations with the government.
So there should be no problem then. They've already...
All those things you are mentioning, and my colleague will agree. We do. We have submitted our constitutions. We have shown who our leaders are. We give members, at least when you are registering, all those are done. But then you need to understand, they are doing all this, and then they hide what they want inside it.
What are they hiding?
Like what?
Where they are hiding so much is where they want to introduce punitive fines and jail terms. All that we are doing, but there is a place where they are hiding punitive fines and jail times. That is what the government is looking for. But then, before you jail me, tell me why you are jailing me. Don't come up with ambiguous words that are not clear, that are not defined, that can be misused. And that is where we have differed. And he will tell you, indeed, we've been invited and we've had about 3 meetings so far. And we have told them these things, that this thing can be misused against those who are practicing in good faith and all that. So most of those things you see they have listed there, we are already doing. You go and look for Societies Act 1968 and you'll see all those things there. What you will not see there is what they are introducing now because of the Shakahola thing, about the fines, about and all that.
So are you saying what would have been an attempt to formalize all of this is some potential underhanded game? Is that what you're saying? Because they're saying, okay, let's put all this in one place and let's be very clear about what it's going to take when a religious organization comes to make an application for this. Because essentially what that means is that if you make the law, that means anybody who is existently operating outside of the law then can be shut down.
But that law is already there.
That's what I'm saying.
And
because now that they've made it very clear that if there is Mountain of the Holy Spirit, I don't know what church operating in somebody's neighborhood and they've not gone through this regulation, government can actually go and shut it down.
Yes.
We are saying this. We are differing on very small things.
Okay.
And if the government sat down with the religious leaders today with a sincere heart, it will not even take 3 hours. And we'll be in agreement on how we should operate and move. But you see, when somebody is looking for something that he's not coming out very clear with, then I agree it becomes difficult. We are very open to dialogue from our side. We are very open to talks that are meaningful. But you see, the problem, as he said, my brother said, even when they come out and say, bring your views in public participation, do you know that is not what they're looking for? They will still do what they want. And that is where the problem is. We give proposals. We tell them how we want things to be done. But at the end of the day, when they come up with a document, it is different. Look at the cybercrime bill, for example. You come up with laws, but you don't look at it in a wholesale, with the wholesale view. We have people who are earning a livelihood through content. So you don't condemn everybody. You also have to look at, are there positive things that are coming with this? We are all in agreement. For example, my children have to be protected from dirty content. We are agreeing. So when we raise issues on cybercrime bill, we are not talking about everything. We are talking about a few things that we feel will be misused and all that. So that is what the government doesn't do. They narrow to what they want, and they don't want to listen so that they have to see how other people will be affected without a cause.
As we take the last question, Sheikh, are we looking at a situation, can that 3 hours happen when everybody will be in agreement that yes, for those who are practicing authentically in the country, they don't have a problem with this regulation, but that there are certain things that need to be adhered to in order for everybody to be in agreement? Is that where we are going?
Bishop is talking about what we're supposed to do. Maybe that is not where we are going by the look of things and the way things are shaping up. Maybe that is not where we are going, but that is where we should go. We should begin by looking at what we have in terms of laws. and maybe come to a conclusion. Is it because of the inadequacy of the law that Shakahola happened and other incidences? If the answer is yes, what do we need to make the law adequate to address this problem so that it does not recur in future?
Yes.
No single religious leader supports what happened there. Number two, if we find that the law is adequate, then is it the implementation of the law that is inadequate? Then we do that. Then that will be very simple. Now, again, we might be mistaken when we talk about religious leaders and government, and it's like this government is from another planet. They are religions. These are also religious people. They from the head of state and the rest. These are people who go to church. They go to mosque and the rest. They are part of the religion also. So what we need now is a partnership, because each one of us has a role to play. We need to come together without one pointing a finger at the other. As Kenyans, we have a problem, and this problem has emanated from the misuse of religion. Religious leaders, do you want this to occur again? No, it's tainting our name. Government, of course, we are being blamed. Okay, what can we do together to address the problem? So that will lead us to looking at it as maybe inadequacies when it comes to implementation of the law, administrative, or if it is the law itself, how can we improve our laws at the end of the day? Do things happen like that in this country? Maybe a question for another day.
Indeed. It's an important conversation, obviously one that is going to make itself in part of conversations going into the future, especially because we are human beings, and this is part of it. But we want to thank you for being here, both of you, this morning, to just give insight into this in terms of then what should be done and how we ought to be thinking. Bishop Hudson Deda is the national chairman of the Church and Clergy Association of Kenya. Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome is Muslim scholar. Jamia has been here with us this morning as well. Asante sana, both of you, for being here at 9:08. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.